consent.
Yeah. Just saying something. There we go. That's better. Sort my screen out. There we go. Perfect.
There you go.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 429 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded June 10th, 2024.
We need your help, especially if you're listening to the beginning of that episode. To support the Canadian Patriot Podcast, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
This brings us to our favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? Pierre, what are you drinking, and something that you've done off of the Patriot Challenge?
So I'm drinking 40 Creek, per usual, with some Pepsi tonight. And I didn't want to do Pepsi, but I decided I would last minute. Patriot Challenge, got the camper home finally. That took forever to get the old shed out of the way. And then, because that's where the camper was going, so I got to drive a scale of driving something that's like 40 feet behind you and weighs 9,000 pounds, and didn't hit anything. Got it in for pretty much first try, considering how tight the backyard was and everything. And then did some lumberjack stuff. My buddy helped me hook it up, untarp it, make sure everything was good, get it home, and then I went over to his place, gave him a hand. He had some trees that went down a little while ago, and their piles are kind of getting buried in the grass, and he's like finally made arrangements for like the big stumps are going to go over here and like the small stuff's going to go over here to a buddy's place or whatever. So yeah, loaded up 2 trailers of stuff and then did all that. So yeah, helped a buddy out and got some stuff done at home. So that's about it. What about you?
I am drinking Signal Hill and Diet Pepsi this evening. I know that's a stretch for our listeners. It's super rare that I drink those things. Patriot Challenge and stuff. Yeah, doing my reading, drinking my water. I was doing a little traveling for work the other day, so some of the stuff, was a little difficult to do because they get you on such a crazy schedule there. They like to monopolize our time when we're away, and you've barely got 10 minutes to yourself to go to the bathroom, but doing what I can. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Tell us what you're drinking or have done as part of the Patriot Challenge, or it's been a really long time since we've had hate mail. So,
yes,
we won't get better if you don't tell us how you hate us.
Yes, or we won't have as much entertainment.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Yeah.
Upcoming events. Yeah, the Army Run is in September. You can sign up for that. The price has gone up, so if you didn't do it already, you can spend a little bit more money, but it does go to a good cause. You can also join our running and or rucking, walking, biking, or whatever you want to call it club on the Strava. So you can find us there as well. News. Guess we'll just jump right into it. Yep. So I gotta read this here because this is an acronym here. The national, I didn't know this idea or this either, but the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, so NSICOP, NSICOP. I don't know. It sounds like some weird sci-fi thing, but apparently there was a report that was done by these people that came out that basically proved, or mostly proved, all of the interference in elections that we've been hearing about. So and the interesting thing is that like all of this information has come out, but the report was redacted, so none of the names were, they were named in the report, but then they kind of neatly got their little Sharpie pen and like blacked them
Yeah,
all out.
I
Yeah.
wonder why. I'm sure they blocked out um, our most recent Nazi leader, Harper, because for sure he had something to do with this. Like
Well,
God forbid,
interestingly, they do mention him in this article here, but
right? Oh, they didn't black his name out.
no, but it's in this article, not in the thing. Interestingly enough, yeah, the elections that were interfered with were like the federal elections, and then two conservative leader races.
Hmm.
Interesting that no one has bothered to interfere
Investigate
with a
the liberals
liberal party election, just a
or an
federal
NDP,
one. Yeah, it's weird.
like or Bloc Québécois. Like
Yeah,
let's not just pick on liberals here. Let's be
and
honest. Like I'm sure you went through any of the parties.
yeah,
There would be something at some point where
but
there's something shady done to make something happen.
the interesting thing though is that like if it was a conservative MP that was caught aiding and abetting foreign nationals in rigging an election, I imagine that this would have been like names would have been named instantly.
Yeah, 100%. And I have a feeling charges pending, a vote to kick them out of
Yeah. So I
whatever.
mean, Jagmeet has gotten up and said that like, anyone that is involved with this should not be involved in politics anymore. And I absolutely agree with the leader of the NDP, which feels really weird and dirty.
Yeah,
Um,
it is your month, I guess.
yeah, but yeah, the interesting thing is that like this report comes out and it's basically redacted to the point where like nobody knows who's responsible for anything. And the government that's currently in power also campaigned on a thing of openness and
Yeah, and
transparency in
transparency.
government. So it's really weird that they would redact something so
And
important.
and am I the only one that has found like this has been the biggest shit show of like trying to get any information? I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't do that much due diligence of like following politics till I don't know 40, 50 episodes prior to me joining the panelists. So at least not on a thing other than watching CBC or listening to CBC and getting your news that way until you like decide to do a deep dive and do stuff on you. So I'm like, so I don't know if I'm just missing something, but I have a feeling that like even though they campaigned on it being transparent, I have a feeling it was easier to get some information way prior to this government than this government.
Oh yeah, I do not doubt that one bit. Although they do like to in the odd instance where they are open and transparent, which is like never, they do like to brag about it.
Yeah, unless it throws the conservatives or the
Yeah,
block down, or like they're trying to
yeah,
pass this stupid law, but on the backside, or sorry, they're trying to
yeah.
pass a law, and on the backside, they've got like this retarded fucking theory saying this is a good idea. And then look, they won't give us another paid vacation day,
Yeah.
right? But you're
Well,
also trying to say that if it's okay for you to come in and tell, drug test my kids and ask them about gender pronouns before you take me to jail. So it's like,
well,
they only speak of the things that, you know, most people would be outraged about, not the rest of the stuff. But
we'll take a brief pause here because we see we have a tardy
yes.
member of the party here. I assume it's because he's eating that he's late, but along with whatever you're eating there, Erica, what are you drinking this evening, and what is something you've done off the Patriot Challenge?
Good evening, gentlemen. I apologize for my lateness.
That's all right. We've all been there. Better late
Yeah,
than
we understand it's hard to go upstairs at your age, and it just happens.
Pierre, for you, I learned something this week.
Yep.
A new phrase. Walk into the lake until your hat floats.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like it.
No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
Patriot Challenge this week. Actually, I learned a new skill. I was sharpening some tools of the trade, if you will.
Nice.
So I was practicing sharpening some knives and some things like that. Also, engaging my prepping skills as this morning my son found out that he was leaving for a long distance construction trip. So we hastily pulled together a camping trailer and all of our gear. And what else?
So what you're saying is that our trailer is no longer on your lawn and it is headed where?
Well, I also have a set of lockpicks.
Yeah.
No.
Excellent.
No, that's all
Yeah,
good.
I mean, those
And,
things are not hard to break into.
No. We have a little sleeper trailer. And what am I drinking? I will unabashedly admit
Mm,
there's been a
Sounds
few of
gay.
these tonight.
That's all right. It's regular
And-
Budweiser. That's fine.
Yeah,
Well, it was
it's better than
so-
other things.
the reasoning. It was a bunch of tall boys, which I thought, I don't want to, or Bush Light at the local LCBO outlet, or this. I chose this. So
That's fair.
That's
fair.
that's fair. That's fair.
yeah. And this is not the first one tonight. This may be the Pierre or Pierre of them.
Yeah, trust me. Every time we get on this podcast, it's like, Pierre, what are you drinking? I guarantee you, it is never my fucking first. I have been to the point where I'm like, I should not be around people to the amount prior to on top of the podcast. So
That's
yeah,
all right.
we'll say the Pierre.
I've definitely had some of those. Especially if you explore the early back catalog of the show, there was
Like the
definitely
Like,
I
are
have
you guys
never
gonna do
explored-
daiquiris again?
like
You're gonna do daiquiris?
Oh God, no!
I have never
That was a
explored
bad
that,
idea.
but I have noticed, however, Gavin. Just saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've listened to the whole
yeah.
backlog.
And the
Prior
other
to
thing I
coming
have, if I may,
Yeah,
the other skill
Yeah.
that I have been working on this week is my contempt deflection.
Ah,
Yes, for the unnamed, I will say, co-host that never bothers to show up anymore. So I just kind of okay.
Which
I get it.
which one? I've got a few names running through my head. I
Um,
probably
it
know
would-
which one you're talking about, but
It would start
we'll
with
talk after.
Andrew. It would start with
Yeah.
Andrew and end with
That's-
Andrew. Yes.
yeah, that's fair.
Usually there's Niagara
Yeah.
Falls behind, and whatever.
Yeah.
it's not Niagara Falls, just to be clear. But
That's fair. That's fair.
However, I understand there are particular reasons, and
Yeah,
you know,
we all we all need
potato,
a
potato.
we all need
Yeah,
a
we
break
all know.
from the black pill at some point in time. Yeah,
So-
some of us just aren't as resilient to it. But
so anyway, what have I done this week? I also I almost buy a fitness watch, track what I actually do for my job, and I thought, no, you know what? No. I know that I carry enough shit around all day that I'm probably more fit than most people half my age. So
yeah, but
Or at
then you
least
have
not
metrics.
fit, but capable of doing things that most people would not be. Like being fit and being capable of doing things. I find there's a fine line in between those two. Like being fit, I mean, it's
Well-
kind of a visual standard in most cases, right? Being fit is mostly a visual standard in comparison to being able to do stuff. Doesn't mean I got a six pack, I got a 28-inch waist and a 37-inch chest, and biceps I can rip a shirt and I look like Hulk Hogan, and I don't know, three other.
The trick is you got to take a razor blade and pre-cut the shirt, and then that way it's a lot easier to.
if
rip
I
off.
may,
Yeah,
It's a little
Yeah.
easy way to distinguish
Yeah.
book smarts versus street smarts.
yes.
fuck you. Get someone to bring 6 packs of shingles up a fucking ladder on a roof.
Well,
You'll find out how
exactly.
fit they are.
Yeah.
Book smart versus
Yeah.
street smarts. Like book
Yeah.
smart says you have to do this by A, B, and C, and street smart says, well, just do C, and you get the same thing. So
Yeah. Fit
Yeah.
means I can look good in a Speedo, but I can't necessarily go and run a marathon or
Yeah.
shingle
you know
a roof
what?
or
you know what?
lift a pound.
You
of,
could
you know.
look good in a speedo, Gavin. Just
Oh, I don't care. I know I do, but like
there you go. See?
yeah. Look good to
A
me.
long
I
time
don't
since
care
I've
about
worn one
anyone
of
else.
those.
Yeah. Well, that's because we've never been to the beach together, Pierre.
Not yet, buddy.
We'll make
I
it
got a
happen.
pool. I got a small little not kiddie pool, but I got a
Perfect.
small pool. Come on down, buddy. I got the camper home. Just saying.
Nice. There you go. We'll crack a
Invites
couple of
there.
cold shots in the kiddie pool and rock our
Oh,
speedos.
Fuck, it's been a
I'm
while
sure your
since I've had a
neighbors-
cold shot.
Sure your neighbors will love it. So the interesting thing that I found in this article here, though, about this inquiry here into how terrible Canadian democracy is,
Yeah.
if you had to pick who you thought was interfering in Canadian elections and all of those things, I at least would instantly jump to the conclusion that it is China,
Oh,
based on all of the things I have heard and seen and all of that lately.
Yeah,
I'm not wrong
Yeah.
in that China is one of the things, but the first country they named is India.
Yeah,
Well,
so
That
I mean,
sort of surprised me. Like,
No, so
I'm not
I'm not
surprised, but I am a little at the same time.
but I'm not surprised. You know how many phone calls I get
Shouldn't be.
from CRA saying that there's been suspicious activity and they've suspended my social security number? And they employ a lot of Indian people.
See,
So
I
makes
only
sense.
get that one where it's like a Chinese voice that's doing it. But
Oh,
The
buddy,
first
me is
clue
fucking
is
Indian.
when they say social security number, because that
Yeah.
doesn't exist in our country.
yeah. And they also
So I-
don't they can't suspend it. That's the other thing. Yeah.
That's the other thing, right?
No,
I had
in this country you have that number for life. That's
Yeah,
how that
yeah.
works.
you can put a flag on it or keep doing whatever.
Yeah.
But that's
But-
beside the point.
Yeah, I did find it a little interesting that it's India and China basically are the two that are doing this.
Yeah, so
Maybe
I'm
that
not
explains
surprised.
why India was so pissed off at Trudeau when he was there last.
But are you
Maybe
surprised?
it's because of that.
Well, no,
Maybe it's
I'm
because of
not,
something he
but-
fucking did.
Yeah.
But yes, there are MPs that have been, apparently soliciting support from foreign missions during, election campaigns to get the support of community groups and all of this. But yeah,
So
they got to name names. Let's hear this.
So I hold on. There is a point in this article which I had and then closed it. Now I got reopened it. What is it? In one case, fuck, I can't find it. So now they are saying that they do. Oh, if CSIS doesn't have it right, naming names could ruin an individual.
That's fair.
because we all know.
I don't care.
No. We all agree that you were supposed to be proven guilty before you are considered guilty.
Absolutely, but then
And that's not how society works.
don't
it is-
release this.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Don't release this article until you can name names then, because this is just like
That I will agree with.
It's gonna be.
Yeah. And it's just
you can't tell me that there are dirty politicians that are still involved in the parliament and then not name names.
yeah, and then in the article just be like, we might not be right completely. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna name names. So I don't disagree that they shouldn't put names in this, but at the same time, don't do this because now people that are like, fuck, I kind of did shit. Can I figure out how to hide that? Can I pay off the right person? Because, I've gotten whatever. Everybody has a price. Let's be honest. You can say you don't. At the end of the day, everybody does have a price. Which is probably why most people aren't politicians. That probably because they don't want to get scrutinized by our three gorgeous faces.
But so one of the interesting things here is that there is an organization called the International Democracy Union that recently dropped India from its, I guess, countries that it hangs out with or whatever. And according to this article here in the Hill Times, this organization is dedicated to getting right-wing, air quotes, governments elected around the globe. I don't like using the right wing. I get what they're trying to say, but I find that when you say right wing, it automatically means
Nazis.
yeah,
Slim
Nazis.
mustaches
how
and
most
stiff
people-
leg
yeah,
marches.
How most people will say, right wing, they will associate it with Nazis,
Yes, because of the way that
Yeah.
the media's done it. Like
Yes.
right leaning or more conservative would have been a better way to express
Yeah.
this, but whatever. But also, they're probably doing this because guess who runs the International Democracy Union that rightly so dropped India from its list of countries it deals with? Literally the devil, Stephen Harper.
Nice.
So, and
Happy
interestingly
that man
enough,
is doing good stuff.
Yeah,
For
India
people.
is accused of interfering in a single Conservative Party leadership contest.
I don't
In the
understand
what?
all that.
Yeah, so in one of the leadership races for the Conservative Party, India is alleged to have been interfering. So whether it was the one for
Harper or was it the one before Harper?
Bernier or
Or
Scheer or O'Toole
Sheer and O'Toole was it?
or
No.
Poilievre, we don't know, but it is
Yeah.
one of the recent conservative leadership elections, of which there were several.
Yeah.
But yes, name names.
Yeah. name
Like
names.
don't tease me like this
No, don't. Yeah.
and then not
Don't-
name names.
Yeah. Don't lick the tip and not make it to the balls.
Yeah.
Because we are not going to hear more info of this.
Yeah.
The only way I would say is if they figure out how to scrub every other party.
Well, it's
and
just
the
like
conservatives, there's going to be 3 conservatives
if
named in this. That's the only way. Like if there's any liberal interference, if there's any NDP, Bloc Québécois, Green Party, whatever other fucking party there is
I
out
am
there,
sure that it is all liberals because none of those names have been named. If it was any other
Yeah.
party except for maybe the NDP, names would have been named. But the fact that
Yeah.
Jagmeet has come out and said that like anyone that's on this list shouldn't be in parliament leads me to believe that
that
he
says
at
the guy
least
who
is
got
not
a-
aware of like the 3 or 4 party members that are actually elected from the NDP that
Yeah.
are part of
So
this. But
he's good that my 5
Yeah.
people are good.
yeah,
But unfortunately, none of the people that are in parliament will actually take any responsibility for any actions or anything they say,
Yeah.
and will willingly deflect and throw people under the bus. Therefore,
even-
our entire government and our country is a joke
Yeah.
to the entire globe. The
Oh,
problem
for
is
sure.
the people that live in our country are too introverted, looking inward, navel gazers that will not acknowledge the fact that they've been duped, and you will not
That's relying
admit-
on that they can actually find their navel.
Well, it's down there somewhere.
Yeah.
But when you have been completely
If you're NDP,
shammed,
just look for the belly button ring.
yes, when you've been completely shammed and completely snowed, and then when you come to the point where you might realize that, no one has
late.
the balls to admit they were wrong.
Yeah.
So we'll
But
just continue going, and we'll just be a lemming and follow along until we jump off the cliff and die and go, well, that was a dumb idea, but it's too late by then.
The sad thing is that like the only thing we really have is our democracy. Like
No,
if
it's
we
not even
don't,
democracy though.
but that's the
No.
thing, and it's even
Democracy
less
is
of that.
mob rule.
It's
If you think
I
about
mean,
it.
yes, I
It's the-
don't disagree with you. It is legalized gang rape, but like
Yeah.
if all we have is like a true democracy where at least people get a vote and a say in things, which I'm not saying is the best system, but like it's a system, and if
No.
it's done properly, can be kind of fair. But we
If
don't
I-
even have that anymore. We have like a sham of it where we try to pretend that we do, but then if we're going to let other people come in and like influence it, like what's the fucking point? Why bother
like-
doing any of that at all? There's not. Like
There's
so yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to get us
to me,
banned.
this is
Let's go to the
this
next.
is this is a major thing that needs to be addressed, but we're just not going to name names because we don't want to get it wrong by accident.
Yeah, we don't want to get
ruin
wrong.
some shitty
then-
politician's career.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
on 6 beers. Give me some names to say. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I've got one name for you. Google.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Google has
Awesome
caved.
segue.
Yeah, Google has caved or cucked, if you will. They have signed a deal with an organization to distribute $100 million to Canadian news, air quotes again, companies. So with the online
So,
news bill that
from-
is
from who?
removed. Well, so Google is going to have to pay news organizations if they want to put links to news things in their feed.
So
This whole thing is
I-
retarded.
I am so confused here. Like
So
like-
I'm with you, Pierre. I don't quite get it.
so I'm like, so is Google not allowed to say or advertise? So I thought that applied to socialist medias.
So it's anything like, so Google owns a bunch of stuff too, right?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So, but the online news thing basically says that, like, if people don't pay the news people and legitimate news people to put their stuff on their platform, they can't put stuff on their platform, whatever the platform is. Microsoft, or Meta, which is like the dumbest name ever,
Yeah.
has said there's no way for us to be able to do this, so we're just not doing it. And like, everyone's like, oh, Facebook has banned news, and like, no, Facebook has just abided by the rules and regulations set forth by our terrible government.
Yes.
Google has decided to, I guess, acquiesce to the government's ridiculousness, and it said, well, if we, in order to have Canadian news content on our thing, we will pony up the cash and pay the
There's-
100 million annually, indexed to inflation, in order to be exempt from the Online News Act, which basically compels tech companies to enter into agreements with news publishers. So the Canadian Journalism Collective, that is the most communist name I've ever heard in a while, will be responsible for ensuring eligible news organizations get their share of the money. So the collective is federally incorporated nonprofit organization that was created for this purpose. It was founded in May by a group of independent publishers and broadcasters. The steering committee is made up of 12 independent media outlets that represent French language, community, and Indigenous news, and publications that specifically represent Black and minority Canadians. So you know that this is going to be super fair in who gets the share of the money and everything else.
Where's the hard white working man news?
Yeah, I don't see that anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's Monday nights.
Yeah, but
at
yeah,
9 on YouTube. We don't, trust me. We are not getting any part of this 100 million. But like, I gotta know where's this revenue? Like, Google's not going to give up 100 mil to be able to put your news out there if there's no kickbacks for them.
well, I'm sure. Well, but like, that's, I mean, they're going to get their money one way or another. They're going to up the fees for using YouTube if you want to subscribe to YouTube, because they own that. The ad revenues that they generate on there, like, so
Yeah,
it's,
but
they'll get the
I
money
still-
back.
I know. I'm just curious how it makes no sense.
It doesn't,
What-
and this is the problem: is that this makes absolutely no sense. But that's the government for you. Like, trying to apply logic to this is not gonna.
This isn't really government, right? Like, so from the sounds of this article, Google is ponying up 100
Yes.
mil.
Yep.
Due to a government policy.
Because
that
the government has deemed this as
Yes,
the way to do
but-
this, in order to put the Canadian news stuff on there, to get Canadians to access their platform and like be driven to that
Yeah,
to go
but-
to the next one.
but there, from the sounds of this, as best as I can see through this whole article, there is no kickback from Canadian taxpayer dollars going to Google.
No,
for this. At
The
least not yet.
downside of this is that,
How much is it going to be to pay to play?
well, this collective who is committed to distributing the funding in a fair, transparent, and inclusive manner gets to decide which news outlets get money. And in
So
order to
if
get
I
money,
may,
yeah,
all right.
Go ahead.
Newsflash. Canadian Patriot Podcast is breaking a new news story about the Google distribution of funds. It will be distributed to a bunch of media outlets. More
Yes.
news, breaking news later. So we
Yes.
should probably get a cut now.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
the
just
the
making sure.
collective,
Tw-
the collective
20
will
bucks is 20
review,
bucks.
yeah, the collective will review all news publishers that respond to the open call and distribute the funds to publishers that meet the criteria. So to receive a share of the $100 million windfall, newsrooms must be designated as qualified Canadian journalism organizations under the Income Tax Act. They must also
Andrew on
produce,
that.
yeah, they must also produce news content of public interest, operate in Canada, and employ at least 2 or more journalists.
Okay.
And apparently the money will be distributed proportionately based on how many full-time journalists the companies employ.
So that's bullshit. Putting this article out, you go and hire fucking 6 more full-time people knowing you're going to get this kickback. Now you've hired 3 extra people.
Well,
with
so what
not
they're
much
saying
money out of
here is
pocket
that small
because
print
you're
and
getting
digital
kickbacks.
outlets can expect to receive about $17,000 per journalist that they employ.
Yeah.
The government has also
I'll-
put a cap, so the CBC
Oh,
can get no more than $7 million share of the 100 million.
we
And
already give them how much fucking money at taxpayers' dollars?
Well, I would rather they take it
We're
from Google than our dollars, but then there's also
yeah, okay,
30
fair.
million
Yeah.
at most reserved for other broadcasters.
We're
So keeping 30%.
The
We're
bottom
keeping
line is
30
though, it doesn't like we can bitch and complain, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like
I ain't
Yeah.
getting my dollar.
No, but this whole thing is like the news thing was dumb to begin with because it got all of the news taken off of social media for Canadians to access. So now Google at least has been like, all right, fine. We'll pony up the cash so that Canadians can get their news.
Mhm.
Except it's not a free for all where it's like, okay, anyone is considered news that produces content. You now have to meet this specific criteria. So they were so like, it was all about, oh, we want to make sure that like true news is getting out there. But well, unless you meet this criteria, so if you're a small news outlet and you only have 1 journalist, but you're doing true news, you're not going to be on there.
No,
And so
And-
how's
and
anyone
that's the
supposed to get their start? Like if you're an independent or whatever and you're not associated with one of these big people,
you
done.
got to have 6. No, but you got to have 6 people willing to work themselves to the bone for pennies on the dollar
nah.
and not be able to do anything as much as
It's ridiculous.
I'm sure fucking most journalists make
Well.
stupid amounts of money to fucking do the most useless shit in the world.
Well.
But like people that actually go in there, no, but some people get into journalism or reporting or however you want to word this as good intent, right? When they grew up, that
When
was a person
journalism
that could
was a
really-
respected career.
Yeah, it was.
Sort
And
of.
I'm sure there are some people that get in there to try and bring that back just as much as I will say small town,
Yeah.
first time people applying for any position in government and wanting to get into politics. There is an initial good intent of people wanting to do that to try and get it back to what it should be and what it is. Fortunately, they're getting fucking bum rushed by every politician. You're not doing this, you're not doing that, you don't get this, you don't get that. So they're not around and they can't do fucking whatever. And I'm sure it's the exact same fucking journalism. You're either gonna conform to what the majority of people say and you're gonna take this money and you're gonna shut your mouth, or you're gonna fucking starve and you're gonna try really hard try and just make ends meet and make it worth your while to be something that is true and passionate to you.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing to start was nonsense, and this is just more nonsense. Like, because it's not solving the problem. It's not going to allow people access to all of the news. It's going to allow them access to some of the news, and that just makes it worse. I would say that we're better off not getting any news than only getting filtered news. But
right, so yeah, we're only getting news
yeah,
according to 12 people's standards of getting news.
Yeah. who are quite clearly have an agenda based on
Not,
who makes
not
that
going to be
up.
on our side of news for fucking
Yeah.
anything.
Some more ridiculous and horrible things happening in the world. Man who lit woman on fire aboard Toronto bus, not criminally responsible for her death, lawyers say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
You can pay taxes on anything?
well, I mean, I don't like to make light of these things, but I mean, sometimes if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
That careful saying.
Yeah, I also that
Already
was
taken light of
definitely
it.
not a pun that was intended. But again, if we don't laugh, we'll cry. So absolutely horrible, tragic thing that happened that did not
Oh,
need to happen. But
don't
listen, it
deserve it.
also brings me back to like the crazy guy that beheaded the person on the TTC in Toronto, which
Or the Greyhound.
maybe don't
Greyhound
take,
even. If you're,
well, yeah, like maybe that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely don't take transit of any kind in this country because it is dangerous. But um I get that like people have some serious mental health problems that go undiagnosed and all of that, but also people also need to be held responsible for their actions, whether they are coherent or not, because like, you know, what happens if I get really drunk and do something stupid and hurt someone? Am I not responsible at that point because I wasn't sober? I
Yeah.
was temporarily incapacitated.
That
I
will
mean-
depend on.
we're gonna find out when they read some of these fucking scripts in court,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, this kind of stuff drives me nuts because nobody will take responsibility for where they're at. No, and again, we've had this discussion before about, okay, yes, mental illness, yada, yada, yada. And again, I'm older than you guys and the whole bit. We had places where people that were had a few screws loose were put.
Yeah.
But now we just say, you know what? We have to treat them as equals, but they're
Well,
not
and
equal.
that's and this is
And-
the
Wear
problem.
your wear your address and cut your penis off. It's okay. Yeah, that's what we do with them now.
Well, it's just I mean,
whether
I
like,
don't get it. But there's two sides of that coin because I remember, well, way back when we had a young fella in our class that he had was MS,
yeah,
and he was well accepted by all of us. And the new guy that came in, you know, they'd make fun of the different
Yeah.
kid. We stood up for him.
Yeah.
But now the different kid, but we knew he was different, which is fine. And we accepted he was different, and we knew, but we treated him as an equal, but we knew that he couldn't do what we had to. Now we are
Yeah.
forced to accept those people as being equal when clearly they are not.
well,
And that is developing a lot of resentment. And in cases like this,
yeah.
like, well, he was just a little bit off. No, he's not a little
Yeah.
bit off.
Yeah,
He's not in the-
worry,
I-
I
and I
worry
have
that
a
this
feeling.
sets a precedent for things where, like, you know, if you could prove that you were, you know, mentally incapacitated at the time for whatever reason, then you are
Yeah.
no longer guilty of the
Responsible.
thing and not responsible. And like, I get it. I mean, definitely people that are
Not responsible.
very much so not with it and not in control of their actions, but that doesn't mean that they're also not a threat to society and therefore can't be part of society.
We should kill all parasites.
Well,
I'm not fucking wrong.
But like,
Don't give me that. I am not fucking
no,
wrong.
no.
but
You
then
guys
you
just
also
don't
have to
wanna say it
define what you
online.
mean, but you have to define what
Take
you
all
mean
the
by
warning
that.
labels off
No.
and see
So-
what happens.
By parasite, do you mean anyone that is a drain on society?
Yes, 100%. That's what a fucking
We
parasite
are
is.
all drains of society.
No, I am not.
That
a
is
drain on
not
society.
true. I am the dregs of society. That is a different thing, sir.
Yeah. So, because due to what I do for a living, I work, I pay my taxes, I raise a family, I do my things, I go buy groceries. I don't ask for help through government. I may ask a buddy, just be like, "Hey, you got an extra fucking pound of ground beef?" Because
Yeah.
we're eating
But-
something and then I pay it back, right? Like, so we're not talking about people that do favors for each other.
Fair
I'm not a
enough.
parasite. I'm not a parasite on government or on, I won't even say government. I will say as taxpayer dollars. I wake up every day. I go to work 5 days a week for one job. Then I go 2, if not 3 days a week for a second job, not to make a boatload of money, just to help a little bit. So I am not a parasite on society. I don't make
Fair enough.
millions. I don't have
No.
whatever. But if you do absolutely sweet fuck all to raise yourself, do anything for yourself, then you expect government to support everything, including housing, schooling, shit for your kid to go to fucking school, to clothe your own fucking kid that you decided to have, whether it was through good intentions or a shitty decision. You are 100% a parasite on society.
So what you're saying is, take a walk until your hat floats.
Yes. But
most of those
getting
people
back to
don't know
this
what
one.
that is.
I mean, so the problem with this though is that like this hasn't been officially decided yet. But I mean, if you look at the one that happened with the beheading thing, they were deemed not responsible, so they went to a treatment facility. They received treatment for a number of years, and then once they were deemed fully capable again, they were let go and not considered to be a threat to society, except that like the problem is that like if they're required to take medication, as we know with a lot of people, they're like not very good at taking the medication, especially when it's mental health stuff. So it's like they will take the medication. Well, but they will take the medication and feel better and then go, oh, I feel better. I don't need to take this anymore. And then stop taking it.
And then go like
and
this.
And then it goes bad again.
No.
So like this is
Right,
the problem is that it sets a precedent for this in that like, oh, I'm not responsible. So where's that line if I'm responsible or not responsible? Because if I've had like enough alcohol to be considered blackout drunk, but I'm still functioning somehow by sheer willpower alone, and I go and do something, is that a defense?
You are still responsible for your actions.
So like if I'm mildly drunk and I make the choice to go and get into a vehicle and hurt somebody, I'm responsible.
100%.
If I get blackout drunk and I am nowhere near a vehicle when I am in that state, and then somehow magically find myself inside of one and hurt somebody, am I responsible?
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm not mentally capable of making
So,
a decision.
Let's take that out of the
statement.
equation and hope you have good fucking friends around to make sure you're not a complete douchebag and a parasite on society.
But same difference though, right? So
Here's the statement that I've had arguments with people with. You are in your life where you are because you decided to be there.
Yep.
And in all of these cases, no one has made anyone do, for the majority, do the things they've been doing.
Not without written consent, at least.
Well, not even that. It's like no one is where they are because they were forced to be there.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions. I will agree.
Yes.
There are extenuating circumstances, but for the general
they're
majority,
few and far
people
between.
say, "Oh, I'm this. I have anxiety. I blah blah blah." No, you decided to let that affect you. And now, again, that's my cranky old man that's probably coming out, which is fine. But it's like
I'm way younger, and I don't disagree.
Which is like, suck it up. Like, well, he made fun of me. He said something about my shoes. Well, wham.
Yeah.
Move on.
There's 90% of what people have PTSD or traumatic things and anxiety or whatever. I will say in most parts, 90% of it can just be like a suck it up princess thing. Not all.
No, I agree because I listened to a few. Actually, there's been a few good podcasts that I've listened to about people with, like, especially in the military with PTSD and stuff, and it's like there has got to be something that is. I don't understand. Like, well, given my age, I was like in my early 20s when Saving Private Ryan came out, and I was on a course. I met a fellow from the States, They said, well, my buddy was blah blah blah. We did this and with it. Would you serve? Yeah, I'd serve. I'd do all this. We went and saw the movie, and I'm thinking, there's no fucking way I do that. There's no way, because going through all that carnage and everything, like something's got to go like that.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different thing from. That is an entirely different scenario from.
Yeah.
I went to Tim
And-
Hortons and then they screwed my coffee order up, and now I can't deal with the rest of my day.
But I
Yeah,
mean, it,
Like
it all
there
comes down
is
to, like,
made up stuff and there is real shit. And the real
this is
shit,
where
yes.
we still need to, like, real or otherwise, those people, if they are
Yeah.
not safe to be around people, need to not be around people. And we can't all of a sudden go, well, so, like, I know 5 years ago they did some really horrible things because they weren't medicated or diagnosed properly, and now they're
So-
totally safe to be around children and like, that is not how that works, right?
No.
Because this guy was fine until he wasn't fine,
Yeah,
just
so
like
the
all
problem-
the others.
The problem I have with everything you said was he's medicated now. Because I'm sorry, if there is a pill you take once, twice, 3, 6 times a day, once a week, or whatever, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'll trust you.
But
You should
but
not be trusted.
but that's
in a
what I mean,
conversation.
because, like, and I will say that, like,
It's not giving
Some-
a pill to someone to make them.
Yeah, like you can work through some stuff, right? Like I could
but that's
something
what I mean.
could have
But
happened.
no, I don't even. But it's not whether it's a pill or it's doing all the things we talked about previously, like going for rucks, talking to people, this, that, or whatever. There's a point, though, when you have done something so heinous that it doesn't matter. We're not talking about somebody that
100%.
was, like, compelled to shoplift and then they went and talked to, like, a counselor and were like, okay, so I'm cured of my compulsion to shoplift. This guy
Agreed.
went on to a bus with a jar of lighter fluid and a lighter, so it's premeditated, because who walks around with that?
Unless you're going to a wicked barbecue and you don't know if they
And
have all
then-
the supplies.
Asked the lady that later died from the burns if they were Tibetan, and then set her on fire. That is not, like,
That's
That part's
premeditation.
different
right.
That
Like,
part's different than my
you-
barbecue theory.
You've crossed a line there where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Even if there is a cure,
Yeah.
what happens when you stop doing the cure? Like I said, so, like, if you need to, like, take pills every day to not shoplift, great. What's the worst thing that happens is you stop taking your pills and you go and shoplift and you get caught again eventually and go to jail. Nobody
Right,
really
so-
gets hurt. But we're talking about people that are not safe to be in society and will harm people.
Right. So I mean,
But society today says that we need to accept those people and include them.
And that's
Okay,
the problem.
That
so
is the problem.
So
Because
I will go
nobody
back-
wants to be the one to say, well, that guy that lit her on fire,
Yeah.
he was having a bad day. We need to let him continue. No.
Yeah.
He lit her
He's-
on fire. He needs
he's-
to go
He's
to,
crossed
like,
the line. He's
there with the barbed wire and the rubber
Yeah.
room. That's where he needs
Yeah.
to be.
And, like,
So-
I'm fine with it not being a jail. I'm fine with it being a mental institution or whatever. Like, doesn't matter to me, as long as that person is segregated from society and never becomes part of society again.
Right. So
When I was growing up, Pentatang was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was the
What
nut
was?
house. People went into the nut house and they were there because they were nuts.
I have
And
friends that have
and-
cottage
and-
right
and-
across from there. It's a good time.
Well, a friend of mine, like, I will call him a friend of mine, but a friend of my son's works as a nurse at the Pentatang facility. And he said, there are people in there that scare the absolute living crap out of him every day. Because they will look at him through the door and say, I would love to scoop your eyeballs out with a
Yeah.
spoon. It's like,
and-
these are the people that
Yeah.
certain individuals in society say, well, we need to treat them as equal and let them run free. It's like, are you crazy?
so
Like, you need to be in there with them.
Yeah, so I will go back on quite a few episodes, quite a few Jack Donovan book club theories of um the tribe of I would even say to this point where this person decided to do all this in is not even a failed state of him as a person, but but as most people in general. You can't tell me this person didn't have interactions with people,
Oh, he did.
right?
He absolutely did. He's had a
And there
history
were
of
not
violence and everything.
a bunch of signs that would lead up
Yes.
to that. Now,
No,
I'm not advocating for just like,
well,
you
but
know,
this is the
this
problem
person's
though.
weird and the shit we say online on Monday nights that I should get a phone call from, 1,000 people to the police. But I'm like, there needs to be a fail on society way prior to something like this happening,
But
where there are obvious signs that this person was
there
potentially
there
not
there
okay.
were. They had a
Yeah,
history of violence and all of the things and
yeah,
antisocial
right.
behavior and being psychotic and all that. But the
But
problem is that the
everybody
state
wants to
has
talk.
removed our ability to do anything about it by creating a
I
local
can get you
police
an
force.
excavator.
Yeah, but the problem is though, is that so if we have like, you know, Johnny that is being inappropriate and I go to do something about it, I'm the one that goes to jail. Even if
So
I
I'm
have
not
done what is
advocate.
in society's best interest.
Yeah. So I'm
Because we have basically given the state a monopoly on everything.
what
Violence,
what what they
keeping
think
people in
is
line.
valid of
Yeah, so yes, I
charging
agree
and
that
doing
going
something about.
to
Our
a more
state is on the side of a criminal.
yeah,
You
and
are
going to
you
a
are
more
innocent. You are guilty until proven innocent.
yeah, and going to a more community-based justice system will help some of this stuff get addressed earlier and go, you know what? We don't like this guy. Like he needs to be ostracized from our community and go find somewhere else to live. We can't do that because if we
You want
do
to
that, we get in trouble.
only if you get caught, allegedly.
But that's
Yeah,
the
but,
problem.
but beyond the if you get caught in allegedly thing, it doesn't matter. You can be a bad guy and you get every benefit and every
Yes.
excuse and everything. If someone breaks into your house with a gun and does damage to your property and does damage to you and your family, and then you take action, you are the one that gets all the shit and they get
Yes.
everything given to them and they're excused and everything because
if
they're
we
so
allow
poor.
if we allow that,
And especially
then
and
the
especially
state no longer has the monopoly on the violence, and that's the problem. And that's why they have to be the ones to authorize the use of violence and the punishments and everything else. And we can't do
sorry, I'm
community
getting wound
stuff.
up.
No, it's fair. I mean,
Oh.
It's
it's
like
the dumb thing.
Let's go
it's
fuck
it's
them up.
the
Let's
I
go
like
fuck them up.
well I've said before, like I am probably this is going to be
The oldest person
burning
around.
point.
Yes, we know
No. Yeah, okay, yes, old, but I am probably the most
that.
what's the word?
Wise,
No, as a
diaper related.
minority, I am a Canadian born, Canadian raised, married, white, working male with a family.
Oh,
Like I am the worst of the worst.
Absolutely. How dare you?
you are the biggest starfish that someone wants to fucking stick their fucking hot dog in.
Well, it's like, well, that's what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But no, we gotta be all the other crap, and you're the problem. Like, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. Okay.
Well,
yeah. Okay. I'm the problem.
Speaking of problems that I'd like to set on fire.
Ooh,
Christopher Freeland.
nice.
Yeah.
Mr., Mrs. It.
Christy Freeland, who I would very much encourage to take transit in Toronto.
They slash them.
Has come out with their new capital gains proposal.
I would love to see her live on what we make.
Her theory is on an adequate wage.
No,
Eh,
so I mean, yeah, I mean that too, but like it's
yeah.
okay because I canceled my Disney Plus account, so now everything's fine. Like I'm rolling
We're
into
I
good.
it.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
lie. When that came out, I'm sure it
rolling in
wasn't
it
real,
now.
but there was a whole fucking meme going around where it was like Disney Plus just being like, just so you
Yeah,
know, she didn't cancel her account. Fuck.
yeah. Well, that's
Loved it.
because she was already
Give
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
for
like
those that don't know, capital gains is the profit on an item that you already
but
own when you sell it. And
you've
so in
already
Canada,
owned,
right?
you've already paid taxes.
Yeah, you
You've
paid taxes on it when you bought it because
yeah,
that's how our country works. Not to mention you already paid taxes on the
yeah.
money you used to buy it
You
before you bought
received
it
to pay.
because of the income tax and everything else.
Uh,
But aside from that,
yeah.
if you buy a house per se, and then you go and sell it, the profit
And
on it, because hopefully, you know,
hope
value of your property
in
goes
most
up.
cases.
Yeah, inflation will ensure to that if nothing else. But like you now have to pay tax on 50% of the profit currently.
Yeah.
She
So
wants
if you
to
bought a house for 100,000 and you sold it for
More.
200,000,
yeah,
no, if and you sold it for 200,000, right? Your profit is 100,000. You would have to pay 50% tax.
no.
Tax on 50 grand.
Pay
Now they
tax on
want to be
50%
taxed
of
on
it.
Well, you
65
cut me
grand.
off before I finished the whole fucking sentence.
Get to the point. Let's go.
What? Well, you guys want to be all fucking ass jumpy because it's Pride Month and fucking try and jump down my throat. Like I
No, no,
wasn't
no.
done.
The points are
So you,
going way up here, but you're like so short they just go right over your head. So we're good.
well, that means I don't have to wash my hair.
I'm kidding you, Pierre.
That's all good, buddy. But yeah, so capital gains, right? You buy a house for 100, 2 years later you sell it for 200. Your profit is 100. Wait, guys, your profit is 100. You pay tax on half of that.
Yeah.
That's your capital gains tax, which whether you did improvements, which you paid tax on every single, I'll say 99% of everything you purchased, whether you did the work yourself or not. If you went and bought drywall, you bought two by
Oh, you
fours, two
paid
by
tax
eights,
on it
two
in
by
some way,
sixes,
or some
you
form. Yeah.
bought tax on everything prior to getting taxed for everything you purchased and put into that house and decided up the value. And it was a fixer upper. It was a little rough, but you're a handy person. You ripped all the drywall out, you leveled all the floors, put some new flooring down, put a new kitchen in, all this. So you dumped
Yeah.
$30,000 plus what your time is, which is a whole other ball game. But you're single or you've made that deal with your wife and your family. She's been like, hey, the next few months I'm going to be busy because when I'm done my job that pays for everything, you're going to work a little bit more to pay for all the shit that goes here. So I upped it $100,000. Why the fuck do you get any taxes from that shit?
Wait, so and also the problem brings
We all
up
know who that
a
is.
good a good point here. Your primary residence exempt from the capital gains tax, but our point still stands that if you have an asset of any kind and
Yeah.
you sell it for more than you paid for it, regardless of how much money you have put into it to improve it and so on and so forth and everything else, you need to pay currently tax on 50% of the profit. They want to up that to 67% for individuals earning more than 250,000 and all of this and that. But like, so they're the whole thing is that they're trying to go after like the wealthiest of people to make them pay more tax. But like again, just because someone is successful, why do they have to pay percentage wise more than anyone else? Because the fact that they are already making more money means that you're already taking more money from them because that's how like percentages work. Like
Because
50% of a dollar is less than 50% of $10,000 and $1 million and everything, you know.
So all this has taught me is
working
that
hard and getting ahead is a bad thing.
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah.
So all this has taught me is that me and my significant other both putting our names on the house we just purchased was a bad idea. Because technically, if either myself or my wife, Mel, was the sole proprietary or whatever on the fucking, like, this was a resident. And then we decided we would buy a fixer upper. And let's say we put this house under her name. And I decided I would purchase the other house. And then I decided to flip it. Technically,
Yes.
it would be exempt from capital gains.
But you'd also have to file your taxes separately and do all of that stuff separately.
Oh, well, I'm good with that.
But yeah, and I agree
But-
here with Chris that like a linear tax or like a flat tax or a consumption tax, whatever you want to call it, is the best way to do if we are going to have tax to begin with.
Yeah.
Is the way to do this, because that way then there's none of this
Yeah.
income tax bullshit.
Like-
It's just
I think a flat tax is the way to go.
I go and
so-
I go buy things, I pay tax on the things that I buy, and then that's over and done with. If I don't want to pay the tax,
I
I
don't go
don't
buy
have
the
to
things.
buy things. I can grow my own food. I can make my own alcohol. I can sew my
Allegedly.
own clothing. I can build my own car, or I can trade or barter or whatever it is with other people that have those things that I wish to
Yeah. So,
trade and barter with. Then
so
it is
I,
fair because there's a way to opt out. But yes, this is
Yeah.
nonsense, and like
there should be no
it-
capital gains. So
it
if
just continues to be like a thing to just take money from people that have worked hard and have been able to acquire things and put value into them to increase.
I'm pretty sure of most of the people on the panel that occasionally and mostly never show up. Eric is probably one of the people that is probably the most qualified to buy a fixer upper, dump his own time and money into it. That why the fuck should you get 50% tax on all the time and effort I have put into it? I have purchased every single fucking product, paid taxes through already taxed money before I can fucking get it, or he in this case, and all this stuff. And then he decides to take his time instead of spending time with his family, friends, relaxing. Might use it for a teaching opportunity where you bring your kid and it's just like, hey, they've never done tiles, they've never done framing, they've never done electrical, they've never done drywall, right? You can use that as a teaching thing and, hopefully can make a contributing member of society or a grandchild or a family friend or all those things, right? So they get life experience at a tax credit because I'm not fucking paying them. Why should you get anything that I have already paid taxes on twice?
That's the
Or
thing
three
that's crazy.
times, or four times.
Or yeah.
Well,
an
I'm
infinite
gonna
number
say
of
bare
times.
minimum twice, right? So you work to get a wage, you get taxed, and then you go and buy the product. That's two. Bare minimum, you get two.
That's nuts.
Right.
Well, that, or if I, like, for example, if I buy a car, I pay tax on the car when I buy the car. If I sell the car to you, Pierre, then you technically have to go and declare it and pay tax and all that. And if you go to sell it to Eric, then he would have to pay tax on that. And then if I buy it back off of him,
You
I
pay
have to
tax
pay
You gotta
again.
pay
tax on
tax,
a
even
thing
though you pay
that
tax.
I've already
yeah.
paid tax on it originally.
Oh,
At which point it gets ridiculous. But yes,
right. Like, nothing drives
this
me
is
more nuts than
ridiculous,
that.
and it was purposely left out of the budget so that this would be a standalone thing to get voted on.
Yeah,
and
well, you
everything
think
else.
they'd say like, "Hey, look how much more money we're gonna make because we got all the
Yeah.
people's
But yeah,
look at the housing
TTC
market."
definitely go straight to hell, preferably by TTC.
But
I'll drive the fucking cunt.
But yeah, some of the things
Like-
that
Yeah.
Ottawa plans to spend your capital gains money on. Ottawa pledges 750 million for Quebec immigration costs, but don't set any clear reductions in the targets in the numbers of people coming into the country.
why would we do that though? That'd be silly.
Yeah. So the French or the Quebec Premier Francois Legault says 100% of province's housing problems are due to temporary immigrants.
Then why the fuck did you have that goddamn fucking road in? You gave them water, you gave them shelter, you gave them everything. kick them the
'Cause they don't
fuck
care.
back out when they cross that
Well,
fucking border.
Here,
But
here,
The,
here,
the
here.
problem
here.
is that's a federal
Here.
thing, not a provincial thing.
That's the plan. They do
It was
not
the
care.
RCMP giving them fucking
They
goddamn water.
don't
That's a
care.
But yes, it
They
is the
don't
Royal Canadian Mounted Police, not the Royal Quebec Mounted Police, and that's the problem. So it is the federal police and the
that
CBSA,
allowed
which is
all
the
this.
So
Canadian
one,
Border
one.
Protection. So it's all federal agencies that are allowing it.
So number one, in Quebec, it's the National Assembly. They don't give a fuck about Canada. Two, it's
No.
been there. The federal government lets them come in. They know it's coming in. The federal government does
You're
not
gonna
care.
get the 5 soon.
I might get to 5 if I keep on going. But
Yeah.
it's the people that are in charge do
Yeah.
not care. But the people that we think are in charge are being told to do by the people that we don't know who they are. They're just
I don't know. We
puppets.
know it's the lizard people, but yes,
Yeah, it's the lizards.
Ottawa.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's the
Ottawa has
aliens,
rejected.
and it's
Quebec's,
the Pizzagate
Okay.
thing. It's,
Yeah.
it's
But
the
it's
Pizzagate thing.
like stuff like that. It's obvious that the federal government and the provincial government and the municipal governments do not care
Yeah.
about Gavin,
No, I mean,
Pierre, and myself, and all the other people that aren't here, and the people that are listening to us, because the people that like Gavin and Pierre and myself, and will not actually do anything about it. There's going to come a point, though,
Not
where all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the word that begins with V may be the answer.
yes,
Ends in islands, kind of rhymes
Yeah.
with silence, but I'm not going to say
Yes.
that. But anyway,
yes, but so
Oh,
Ottawa
you need to message
rejected
us to me.
their.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, Ottawa has rejected Quebec's demand for $1 billion and given them $750 million instead. And so,
Fucking a bunch of that money came from fucking Alberta, anyways. Because fuck, God forbid they can balance your own fucking goddamn budget. They get a bunch of money thanks to transfer payments.
but yes, Quebec has been asking since February that Ottawa reimburse it for spending on social services to support migrants from 2021 to 2023.
no,
Instead, yeah, I know.
No. So I will say no, but at the same time, as we have said, our CMP, CBSA, which is
Yeah.
federally regulated, allowed those people to walk across the thing and say, sorry, here's a bottle of water, let me carry your shit, and then go through your stuff and realize you have a hard drive full of kiddie porn and be like,
Totally fine.
well,
Totally fine.
it's not okay, but here's
Nope.
your hard drive.
According
There's
to
no
them, it's totally
consequences. There's no consequences or whatever thing. Here, go into public housing or whatever. So I don't disagree that the province is asking the federal government to do anything, because people crossing the border, RCMP, CBSA, and even RCMP at that point, I would say is a very fine line on saying that's a requirement of the RCMP job. That is a CBSA job, and that is federally regulated. So because those two shoes fucked up hard, I don't disagree that they are asking federal government for it.
Well, but
I'm
so
not
this is the thing.
disagreeing.
No,
Federal
but
government
like
should be paying for it.
one way or another, it's your tax dollars.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah,
you know, they're saying that Quebec is aiming to reduce the number of asylum seekers in the province by 50% within a year, which I don't disagree with. They should absolutely do that.
Yeah.
The
You
problem
need to
is that it's
speak
not
French
up-
to get anything.
It's not up to Quebec to decide that. And that is actually one of the interesting things that they are trying to put into place here.
Yeah.
So they are trying to say that, well, because it's Quebec, if you're going to be putting people in Quebec, there should be a French language thing. So it's an interesting way that they might be able to get around some of this stuff and actually reduce some of that number. But basically all they're trying to say, the federal response to this is that like they're going to reduce the number of temporary immigrants. But as we've talked about before, their way to do that is to fast track them from being temporary to being permanent.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really help either. So
no, it doesn't do fuck all for either.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I work for a company that deals with Quebec for many things, and like it's a thing where like Quebec has a law where if you want to have English on your sign,
Yeah, you can't. It's got to be
Hut-
half the
yeah,
size.
yeah, it's 100% legal,
Yeah,
but it needs to be French. And if you want English, it needs to be 50% of the size. So let's say you make a 1 by 2 foot sign in French and you want to also have it in English. Your
Yeah.
English sign can only be 1 foot by a half foot.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree that it's like, hey, you want public housing, you speak French. No? Va-t'en à la prochaine province.
Yeah, but the problem is though that like, and I don't, I think it is an interesting solution to their problem, except that that is going to push all of those people everywhere else, and we already
Yeah.
have enough. But like,
We should teach them to go east, not west.
eventually, everywhere is going to get full up, and it doesn't matter. But
I got
this is the
ammo. I
problem.
mean, what?
But yeah, so
Didn't hear that.
finally the provinces are starting to push back, and I think we're going to start seeing potentially something like what happened in Texas with Quebec getting fed up and just putting people on buses and sending them to other cities and things like that, which could get interesting. But that's
was
just
really
if things keep going in that direction and Ottawa doesn't actually put a stop to it, because
I was
That's
hoping
what
you were
needs
gonna
to
say
happen.
we.
well,
I
that's
was
the
hoping
thing,
you
'cause,
were
like,
gonna say we were gonna get the green suits, which means that we can do whatever the fuck we want.
that's the problem, is that the province has no control over this really. It's the feds that have control over who comes into the country or not, and once they're into the country, where do they go from there? We can't
Well,
stop
that's the
people
thing.
from
Send them all to
moving.
Ottawa. Send
Yeah.
them all to Ottawa.
Yeah, there's like a big giant front lawn
I'm
with
far-
a hockey rink and everything.
I'm far
Sure.
enough from Ottawa. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
But
but
if they
whatever
get
we do,
close, I hold no responsibilities because
definitely,
the thing
definitely,
from the other thing.
yeah,
Just look
definitely,
what happened last time everyone went to Ottawa.
yeah, nothing.
Well, they all kind of peed their pants and then said we got to send the army out and
Yeah.
shut the world down and take everybody's money, and like we're so scared. Like,
Yeah. Hey, that
Technically, they
that
didn't send the
grandmother
army.
got what she deserved.
well, I know, but you know where I'm going. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, I know where you're going. I'm just saying they didn't send the army, but they sent horses. They
Well,
sent
his dad
RCMP.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, at least that was like
semi sort of.
people that were
As much
actually
as I-
being violent when his dad
As
did it.
much as
I
I
know.
don't like politicians, he
I
wasn't
know, man.
entirely wrong.
Not
in
that I
sense.
disagree with what those guys were going for, but at least they were being
Yeah.
violent. Like,
Cranky old
Yeah.
man.
yeah. But whatever we do, definitely don't send them to Calgary, because Calgary is already suffering for all kinds of things. Arson season upon us, as we already know, in Alberta as a whole.
No. Wild, you misspoke, Gavin.
No.
Wildfire season.
Yeah, no, like I said, arson season. But
Exactly.
also
Okay, just clarifying.
specifically in Calgary, they're having a massive water supply issue.
It's 100% arson
So this
season
verges more
due
on
to
the
climate change and people not liking oils. Something
this
to do with that.
this article is definitely more in the vein of the copycat CPP, who we are good friends with and some of us commingle with. But yes, Calgary water supply still at risk as crews continue water main repairs. So their giant water infrastructure in Calgary that is some 50 years old has had a giant leak, and people in Calgary may or may not have water in a couple of days if they don't get this shit fixed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will say that I haven't, because of my lateness, I haven't had a chance to run through all the articles, so I'm a little behind, but keep going.
That's all right.
I
just figured it's
was
an
early
interesting-
in. I didn't fucking read any of them. Don't worry about it, buddy.
Yeah, but you've probably admitted you don't read, so I mean,
Yeah, if they
Potato,
don't manage
potato.
to,
I can tell you hydraulic fluid and electrical schematics, but be fucked if I know what letters mean.
I'm kidding
Yeah.
you, buddy.
but yes, it might be a situation they're saying where if you turn your tap on, nothing comes out.
Mm.
So, I mean,
That's
again,
crazy.
like it's certainly
It's
more like I
potentially
said,
because
more
you didn't
in
hit the
vain
right
with the other
spot.
CPP, but also in line with this one where don't trust government to provide things for you.
But I'm also saying if you get the right angle on the finger, it might help with the flow of water.
I mean, that's fair. You gotta like it somewhere up at the top, and you gotta do the thing just
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But that's a different
Yeah.
podcast altogether. But yes,
Yeah.
apparently the pipe was installed in 1975, isn't it halfway point for its 100-year life cycle.
Mm.
Didn't quite make it.
Missed an opportunity
Yeah.
there at
It's
69.
so scary
Sure.
though when you think about it. Like people, you know what I find is odd is that it's like, well, you think about, it was like 1975 for me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, not that long ago.
Hey, you were like
But
60.
but but do the math. It's like, holy crap, that was a long time ago. It just doesn't
Yeah.
seem to think about it, and then everyone wants the stuff done now, but don't think about moving forward.
Right. And so I mean, we're not gonna go down the rabbit hole of government doing anything and I'm working on infrastructure. As many of you have known about the fucking piping issue I had at my fucking house due to government allowing this piping to go into my house as well as the water coming into my house because I moved somewhere where fucking municipal water, municipal sewage is a thing instead of buying somewhere that has a well and a septic. But was it in the budget? And like so they replaced their part and they're like, yeah, you're responsible for here. And I'm just like, why the fuck am I responsible for replacing anything? Because you signed off saying this was a good system and realized the piping that was coming into my house right up to the cast iron, which was under my foundation, was this shit material that you said, yeah, we're replacing this left, right, and center. You signed off on it initially, allowing this to go into the ground, saying this was a good system and this is reliable. And now it has failed. Why am I responsible for fucking 7 feet, 8 feet, 6 feet, 30 feet? Does not matter the footage because you're past that line where you're like, we're responsible up to here. But you signed off and allowed this to go into the ground and say this is adequate and up to code.
So,
realize
do
someone
you want
fucked
the
up on code.
government to look after everything or nothing?
If you check off on
I'm
it,
gonna go
you
with
are
nothing.
responsible.
Is that a Gavin?
I'm gonna go with nothing, but I like to live dangerously, and I'm okay with
No,
that.
I don't disagree with them being nothing. But if you signed off saying this
There
is what is
should
good,
be-
you were responsible for
We
it.
made a mistake.
you
Sorry.
Yeah, but if I make a mistake on my
I was
tax,
mentally incapacitated at the
Then
time.
you're the problem.
yeah. So if
Because
government says,
I
hey,
am the
this is
government.
what we recommend, and I say, hey, I found something that's going to save you $300, and I put it in, and then it fails, that's on me because I decided to make that uneducated or educated guess, whichever way you want to go, right? But if the only standard that I am allowed to do anything for water, sewage, building code, all of the things that we can all talk about, license, I still need a fucking sticker for my own goddamn fucking personal vehicle, right? I have an issue with that. You said this is the standard, and your standard 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, don't give a fuck how many years. Realize,
Well, I mean, you do have to
that was a
like
shitty
account
idea.
for like if technology at the time existed that was better, then that should have been the standard. But if things have been invented after the fact, there's not a whole lot you can do with that. Because I mean, originally they had
No.
like shitty aluminum wire, and then they've gone to copper wire and all of that. So, but if you got your house done at a time where, you know,
Aluminum was a thing,
wire was,
but I had no
acceptable,
choice other than to do because
Yeah.
I could not do anything, and you said that's the only thing
But-
that's allowed. Is that due to me or is that due to you?
But also,
I don't give a
yes, this
fuck
is
what
the
your
problem.
technology was.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Okay, hang on.
But also, like, you pay property tax and all of the things that should help cover the cost of you being connected
Shitty
to
infrastructure that you decided was the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
So you talk. Sorry, I'm just the aluminum copper thing really bugs me
Yeah.
because
I knew it'd fucking trigger you.
well, okay. Does it work? Yes.
Yes.
It's like asbestos insulation. There's nothing better.
Except
Don't
when it
fuck-
breaks and you get exposed to
No,
asbestos.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. If you have asbestos insulation, don't fuck with it.
Yeah.
Don't
The
touch it.
problem is
you're good.
like somebody says, oh, asbestos is bad. Aluminum wiring is bad. Okay, well then I'm gonna get this giant fucking rabbit hole and spend all this money just to get up
Yep.
with the tree huggers to make sure that I'm good.
Yeah.
Don't screw with it, and it works just fine.
Yes.
Yep.
You're okay.
Yeah.
That's
If
part of the
you have
problem. It's
asbestos-
always the next thing. Follow the money. Follow the money.
Well, yes.
Who's
Yeah,
back?
somebody changes the thing and everything else. Yeah, like doesn't mean that there aren't better ways to solve the problem, but the problem is still getting solved. But yes,
Like I've got an 8-foot, two-handed, the old kind of pole saw that I could rip logs with, and my neighbor's got a bandsaw, like a sawmill.
Where-
Which one's
Nice.
better?
depends on what you're doing.
Depends
They
if you're
both do
talking
the
for
same.
speed.
They both do the same thing, but
You're talking
we've
for
been
speed,
trained to think-
efficiency, quality. You can probably get a little bit better straight cuts on his saw compared to
Can
doing
ya?
it by hand. I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying
Well,
for most people,
what I'm saying is, everyone thinks that the newest is the best.
But it's not.
Because if it's
Necessarily.
newer, it's going to do the job better than the old ones. And
so
Yeah,
what you
just like
as-
an
as-
electric car is better than a gas car.
so all I heard from what you're saying is gas is king.
I mean,
I'm just saying, that-
depending on what you're doing, yes.
That
yeah,
don't
but yeah,
matter
it's
what you're
just
doing.
one of
gas
those,
is
like,
king.
Don't trust the
it just
government to
strikes
look
me as-
after you.
it's follow the money because in reality, government, big business does not have yours or mine best interest at heart. This is about the bottom line for them and their shareholders, because there's a lot of things like
Oh,
doing
always follow the money.
what I do. I use a cordless framing gun when I could just as easily use my hammer. It's faster.
Hmm.
It's faster, but it's more expensive.
Yep.
But time
But-
is money, so there's a trade-off.
But when it gets down to it, like I will be on site and it's like, oh, we got to do this. So I'll pull in my pouch. I always keep spikes with me, my hammer, bang, bang, bang. You have nails? Like that's what I get. You have nails?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you?
Like, why wouldn't I do that?
but
Yeah.
you also
That's
had
so old
Di-
school. Well, wait a minute.
Dino. You had
Like,
Dino from the
it's-
fucking Flintstones as a pet. Like, so I understand why they say that. But like,
Yeah.
I've got my go-to. I fix equipment for a living, which is way different than fucking framing and what you do for a living. But like, I've got my go-to like handful of like $7 tools, right? Multimeter, test light, few screwdrivers, 2-3 sockets. I can pretty
Yeah.
much get anything running with that handful of tools.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
some people, like fuck, you
have
can't
to have
do
all the
that
things,
without
right?
this. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't do
but
that without
that's-
this new $300 tool. And it's just like that's the collapse of society, right?
Well,
You
we've
have
just
people
gotten
that work with
lazy.
you and not even lazy, but just not understanding that you can't 100% rely. I can't rely 100% on my multimeter to be 100% accurate. I need to figure out, I'm getting something weird. What's the voltage coming in? What's the voltage coming out? Is my battery charging? Am I
Yeah.
supposed to have 3 amps or 6 amps coming on this fucking wire? Going to the starter, going to this relay, going to this, going to that. Many scenarios.
I think,
Whereas-
well, if I can circle back around to the original title, though, Calgary's water supply is still at risk. What we do as crews continue water main repairs, well,
Mm.
we rely too much on other people to do the things.
Well, and just to
that
be able to
we
provide
should be
the things.
responsible for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at this here, it says here that on Wednesday before the break happened, the city used 650 million liters of water. That's a lot of water. an
mean,
early estimate or an early estimate of the amount of water used on the Sunday after the break was 457 million liters of water, when the available supply was 620 million liters. So they didn't even and
yeah, so you
don't rely on other people to do the work for you or to supply the things for you. And that, as a normal person, and again, this is more the other CPP than ours, but there's a lot of overlap here because government sucks.
don't worry. That episode is coming because we were talking about fucking.
You
bunch
should
of the shit.
have.
Whoa, wait. Government what?
Yeah, government
Really?
sucks. I know. 429 episodes for that to come out. The
Wow.
government sucks, and they are not going to be able to provide the
Some
things
of
all the
those,
time.
some of
And-
those were book club.
Yeah, and
Just saying.
Okay.
interestingly about government and how much it sucks, but
Yeah.
it's still taken 429 episodes for that to come out. But yes,
Want to be clear.
government sucks.
Clear as
And
mud.
Most politicians are cunts. But yeah,
Oh.
just to have just some basic knowledge and some basic things to be able to look after yourself, because you
Good.
can't
wet
rely
wipes.
on
Wet
the
wipes will do
government.
wonder for Klingons in your butt crack.
well that and
Well,
You got no water.
I mean
If I could say, sorry, if I can just
Yeah.
say, Gavin, going to what you said about when the world ended in March of 2020,
Yeah.
as it were, I got my lovely bride, whom is amazing, started. And I've said this before. She was on the let's find out what's going on thing.
Yeah.
I said, well, I want to find a Canadian thing, and I found this group of clowns called the Canadian Patriot Podcast. And what hooked me was the "What are we drinking?" line, and then I hooked up with the other
priorities,
CPP.
right? Priorities.
Yes, yes. Then I hooked up with the other CPP line. Anyway, long story short, one of the panelists, who shall remain nameless, that never shows up because he's always too tired, Ian. And anyway, I managed to meet up with him because I got thinking, oh shit, what happens? And like you said there, Gavin, like we rely too much on other people. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get in the mindset of I need to become a little more reliant on myself.
Yep.
Knowing that everything is out there, but what can I do to help my own family? And I did a few things based on what I learned from this particular podcast and the other CPP, thinking, okay, here we go. And I'm thinking, I am so far behind the curve, and I had the opportunity to meet Ian. He actually was able to come up to where I am, and we met. And I said, "So what do you think?" He said, "Dude, you're like 98% ahead of everybody else around me." I'm thinking, and I hadn't done anything, so
But you don't live in a metropolitan area. You there's all these things that I'm take 90% of everything.
But even at that, Pierre, I'll say people living in a metropolitan area, you can still do the same things that you and I do living in the metro area. The biggest thing I have is I am the exact opposite of you, Pierre. I really don't
like people.
I don't mind people.
It's horrible.
I know it's a fault.
You went down on the cool factor, buddy.
Yeah, I know. but what I realized is I have to stop being nicer to people. I'll be nice to people.
I will give you tips.
But don't be nicer to people, because sometimes it's like people are.
Well, and you can be cordial to people.
That's the word,
right?
So
courteous.
yeah.
I would even say courteous.
And so there's a group of people that I've kind of been in my mind thinking, okay, like I'm not going to be the frontline guy, but I can be the guy that'll
I'm not going to be
cook, clean, and reload while all the other guys go there do their stuff. But I think there's a group of like-minded people. But at the same time, it's a thing of I need to go back to where I grew up and my family grew up. Is we have this community where we are self-sufficient, and the government's out there. So
and I mean, some of that stuff is a little easier if you're more rural, because you need those things to just get by to begin with, because you're not as hooked up to the grid. But I don't want to get too into what I have and what I don't have, but I have got
Allegedly.
just over 2 weeks of food,
Allegedly.
just under 2 weeks of water,
Allegedly.
and the means to cook the food that I've got.
Allegedly.
And I live just outside of Toronto.
Yeah.
So,
Allegedly.
right, it has taken a little bit of work and time and money and effort to
It's-
get to that point,
Right.
but
And
it's achievable.
now we're getting to a whole other fucking
But this is,
segue about.
and this is the whole other show. But like, my point is
Yeah.
though, that like, don't rely on the government for pretty much anything, right? And the more dependent we are on them, the more control they have over us.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but also,
Well-
and just to answer the problems here, apparently his city does not allow the use of generators when the power is down.
get a new
Um,
fucking city.
Also, if you share the power with your neighbors, they're not going to call and complain about it. So that's the one way to deal with that.
Yeah, agreed. But then also you need a generator that'll power. If your city doesn't allow that, you need a big fucking generator to supply
No, you
fucking
just need
20 houses.
need enough to power your immediate, like your needs,
yeah,
and then
but-
share a little with your neighbors so that they can keep their
That's
cell
stupid.
phones charged.
Yeah,
But that's also why you like be nice.
that's why
with your
you're the
neighbors.
fucking problem, buddy.
But also, if you live in a more rural area, then those things become less of an issue. But all of that being said,
I don't have that many extension cords.
Pierre, where can people find you and your other half when you're not on here?
So you can find both of us off the wall customizing at Gmail. Fingers crossed, we figure out real soon how to get our own email. But yeah, off the wall customizing at Gmail. You can find me on Monday nights, as we have alluded a few times to the Canadian
You mean
Prepper
Sunday nights?
pod-
This is Monday night.
Well, thank you.
I got you, buddy.
apparently-
I got
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Yes, so Sunday nights on the Canadian Prepper podcast, why we discuss why you should be way more fucking prepared than all the news articles we talk about tonight. And many things we have said many things about on YouTube's Bookface. A little more reliable 9 than us, but or here. That's it.
Eric, where can people can find you? For you to
Well,
be
I'm working
cordial
on
but
this.
less friendly to them.
I am working on a pseudonym. So if you are a detective-minded individual, you could find me on Facebook.
There you go.
Um,
Or
yeah,
if you want feedback at Canadian Patriot
Or
Podcast.com to
feed-
give Eric a better pseudonym.
yes. Well, the pseudonym on Facebook, if you are clever, you will figure it out. So anyway, yes. Or feedback at Canadian Prepper Podcast or Patriot Podcast.ca. So
Well, there you go. We were on Gilded, but we have switched back to the other one, Discord. Because
We're back on Discord?
apparently,
Oh, fuck me.
Gilded is
no, thank you.
Gilded is owned by Roblox.
You haven't
and
seen my Star
Roblox has
Fish.
put some new things in place that something to do with groomers, and we're not about that. So, no longer on the Gilded, back on the Discord at least until we get kicked off. You can find me personally on Instagram at UrbexGTA. If you have listened to the show this long, you definitely deserve a discount. You can visit
100%.
RagnarokTactical.ca. Use the code Patriot at checkout. You can also find me at the annual Prepper Meet. I will be doing a Stop the Bleed, and as Chris said, I'll be doing it at midnight apparently, as per their website. I'm sure that will change. Maybe it won't. Maybe I will do one at midnight just for Chris if he's there
So-
in the total
I'll be there.
darkness. Because yes, next level
So-
shit is where it's at.
Hold on. Before I completely forget, because you mentioning that reminded me.
Yeah.
If you do go to the preppers meet, I am attempting to go there. Probably won't happen. But I will have someone.
Don't attempt. Do or do not, or do not. There is no try.
This isn't a Star Wars podcast, but I appreciate the reference.
Yeah, like so
Space
there may
Nazis versus
be
Laser Wizards is my favorite movie, but
so there may be some giveaways potentially from this podcast or the other podcast, I've made a few shirts for both.
I am sure
Um,
that you will find participants of either at the bar or at the
Yes,
facility one way or
exactly. So, whether I am there or not, if I go there, you're gonna have to find me to get the free shit. If
Look
I
down.
send someone else that is going, you may need to be some specific words to get
Yeah.
freebies, whether it be t-shirts or engraved stuff. Probably cups that you can drink out of on Monday nights when you watch us,
That and,
or Sunday nights. But yeah, more info to come. Apologies, I forgot about that.
although he is not here, I will remind everyone that Andrew's safe word is pineapple.
Yeah.
But yes, find us on the Discord again. Also, apologies to Rod. I don't have a good excuse why he's not here. Maybe he just needed to, like,
We had a Quebec article.
sober June or something, and he's just not.
It was his
drinking.
hair.
Yeah. But I'm sure we will get him on next week, maybe the week after. We're working on it. Our people will talk to his people, and we'll figure it all out. It's fine. Don't worry. It'll one of these days it will happen. Promise.
Yeah.
Like pinky swear, even like. Apparently, we value your opinion, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
I value your opinion.
Let us know what you think. I mean, apparently some of you people do. There is at least one listener tonight, and we appreciate you, Chris. We really do. We do this just for you.
Mel was on, and so was.
Yeah, she doesn't count because she's a spouse. She's going to listen anyways to support you because she's a good wife.
Yeah, but she
That'd be
fucking
nice. My
waited
wife
45
never
minutes.
But
Chris, I appreciate you, my friend.
yeah,
The problem.
Yeah.
Your best bro.
I would also like to remind you all that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views, and hopefully all